most people would think that the police have to be monopolized, controlled, and that's just not the case. I'm proposing that we do competitive police, competitive governance through for law enforcement. What I mean by that is there'll be roughly 12 different law enforcement agencies out there, and every citizen selects one, and then they will hire, you have to pay them fees, and then they will hire police officers. Now, all the police officers, no matter who they're being hired by, what competitive police department or competitive police law enforcement agency hires them, they will have to do immediate care for immediate situations, the 911 calls and the like. Anybody in immediate danger. There'll be a lot of guidelines around that. But how much control will be at the monopolized sector board level? So you basically you have between 5 and 20% of the citizens per law enforcement agency. So I'm just saying roughly 12. You join one, your neighbor joins maybe another one, the person down the street joins law enforcement number 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. So and then everybody has to pay their fees to that. And there'll be some mandatory fees, maybe as a percentage of your house value or percentages of your income, or maybe a percentage of your or maybe a percentage of your sales, because retailers have to do the same thing, or even wholesalers, manufacturing. There'll be a way of collecting taxes for police, because everybody needs police protection. So there'll be a way of collecting that money, and there'll be a mandatory. Everybody has to belong to one. You don't have a choice. If you choose not to join one, you're not allowed to live here. Basically, that's the social contract that I will have in the constitutional amendment creating competitive government. So, so how much control would be in the monopolized sector board? Well, a monopolized sector board is where all the competitive governments send up representatives to the sector board, and then they will have control over a little bit. Now, in the police, a little bit more than let's say schools or social security, but maybe not as much as the commander in chief and the military. But the police still need to have a lot of cooperation. So there will be one top sheriff, one top police chief. There will be top people. Now, each one of the competitive governance will have to have a top guy. Now we're talking statewide with local components. So obviously, if you have a small town, you can't have. It'd be very hard to have 12 police chiefs and then people underneath them. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm not talking about adding more police to the force, but not less either. The target for funding would be to target roughly the same amount of people we currently have. But there will be a lot of cooperation. Now, 95% of the time, that cooperation is just that, cooperation, not orders from the police chief going on down. There'll be some of that, maybe 5% of the time when big things happen. A riot happens or something happens, the police chief, if it's within their regulations, can command anybody with a badge to do what they're told to do. Now, most of that's going to happen just because of cooperation anyway, a mandatory cooperation. And if your police department is not doing that, if they're not cooperating, they fail to be a competitive law enforcement agency, and then all your members, they have to belong to one. They'll just have to go somewhere else. So they will have motivation to cooperate and do the job they're supposed to do. So you have to belong to a police law enforcement agency, and then they have to do the job of that. If they fail to do that job, they stop becoming a law enforcement agency, and then they go away, and you have to go somewhere else. You get folded into another law enforcement agency. So they'll be motivated to do it. Now, what is that mandatory? Well, the sector board will have some mandates. The full system, creating the Constitution, will create a few mandates, mandate to fund and stuff like that. If your crime rate is higher than a certain level, that mandate will have to go up. So in my writings on this, if your crime rate, let's say murder rate or theft or rape or whatever the situation is, whatever crime you're talking about, you have rates there. And if it's above a certain rate, you have to increase your law enforcement contracts so they can hire more police. You have to increase your prison contracts so they can hire more, build more prisons and the like. So there'll be motivation to keep that crime rate down, and the judges and the like will have to try to make sure that happens as well. Or they're not going to get funded, because the only way they get funded is people choose to go with your competitive government. So the hierarchy will be what the hierarchy is going to end up being, based off of representatives of the police organizations. So I don't know what it is. I'm creating a structure to a framework for police organizations to be allowed to work. So basically, if you have a police force of 100 people, you're going to come in there with roughly 12 different police organizations. So each police organization is going to have between 5 and maybe 20 different officers, and then they'll probably gather together, work simultaneously in similar or in the same building. So they'll have their own desk or whatever. They rent space in the police department. They rent places in a jail. They rent. They have some common resources, the 911, the crime lab. They'll be sharing some of the things. So anyway, there's a lot to be said on this. A lot more videos out there. Let's talk about the rating system within the police real quick. Every aspect of police business, from respecting civil liberties. If you go too far, you're going to lose your badge on violating civil liberties. But if you're doing proper policing, and on occasion you go a little bit over the line or whatever, yeah, they have to be corrected. You're going to get rated a little bit lower if you go over that line, and then there'll be motivation for the police officer to keep his job, to abide by the civil liberties. And of course, if they abuse it too much, then lawsuits can go go against them. The competitive rating system can literally bring in charges for abuse, corruption, self-dealing, and the like. If you get false testimony from a police officer, that is a major problem, but the rating system can address that. Limiting private sector harm without monopolized regulations is a big part of what the rating system does. It's going to give high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives. There'll be at least 12 people that can dig deep into all information. None of it's withheld from those 12 or so people. Maybe a little bit more than 12, because there'll be different organizations from the court. There'll be competitive governance on courts, and judges will see certain information. The prosecutors will see certain information, but the rating agencies there'll be a rating agency per sector. So a lot of really good information will be coming out from many different rating agencies, from many perspectives, from people who can really see and get down deep into what they're doing. Okay, forcing government experts to debate other experts from every perspective. That's going to be huge on this. Nobody can just say, this is our study and leave it at that. No, they have to be they get to be questioned about that, and they have to answer questions regarding that, so people can get down to the bottom of what's going on. They don't have to agree, but they have to honestly answer their questions. So if they just put a study out, they have to show that study is legitimate and how that study is done, or they have to withdraw that study. So a lot more to see at Haley2024.org. Until the next video.